What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes are back with another superstar in the sport of mixed martial arts. We get to talk to Cody Durden today, who's coming off a big win over Carlos Mota at the recent fight night here in Las Vegas. Cater versus Allen. What's up, Cody? How are you?
Man, I'm living life. Life rips, and I'm living it.
For sure. Yeah, I was checking you out on Twitter. Looked like you had some fun at the Atlanta Motor Speedway recently. I had to do a double take because you kind of are, don't take this wrong, but the white version of Rafael Sunsal, or he could be the Latin version of Cody Durden, however you want to look at it. But I had to do a double take. I didn't have my glasses. I almost thought the only reason I was sold on it for a second is because he's from Atlanta too. He's from that area. So I had to do a quick double take. But anyway.
Dude, Rafael Asuncio was the one who inspired me to start fighting. My first MMA practice ever, it was in 2011. I went to a gym called The Compound. They were starting an MMA program. They brought him in as a special guest. And, dude, I met him, and he asked me how old I was, and I told him I was 21, 22 at the time. And he was like, man, you better get started. And I never looked back since.
Oh, what a tie-in. I mean, I would have honestly never guessed that. I just, like I say, it was a quick double take when I looked to see, but that was you there, and now you share that with us. So that's 4 fights you've had in like the last year, 3 in 2022, but going back to the end of 2021, you had a fight, 3-1 run. Did you like that? Do you prefer to stay busy like that? Or was that like the type of run that you do and now you decompress for 6 months and then give it another go?
No, man. I'm taking 2 weeks off, but we're getting right back to it. Yeah, I had 4 fights in 1 year and 3-1, and I think it's pretty good. But the Makayev fight didn't go my way, but I learned from it and had to dig deep, had to make some changes in the camp, and I started going to American Top Team Coconut Creek and doing my camps out of there, and it was great.
Well, I love it when a fighter stays busy and they stay on our radar because as good as anybody else, once the fight's over, they basically just shut the door. All right, who are the next 24 fighters that are fighting the following week? And then they get their spotlight. And then, as you well know to that, the pay-per-views get even bigger spotlights. Seems like the fight nights just kind of get a quick little brush, so when you can stay on the radar and you're winning, then I believe that's when it's the time to strike, right? And kind of ask what you want. And I already see you chirping online as well. Is that the way you're leaning? You're looking to pick a fight with Ode Osborne?
Man, I never said anything to Ode Osborne. He lost his last fight. I'm on a 2-fight win streak. I think he's a great fighter, but I think I smoke him. I'm looking more towards the top 15, or I'm looking for to reschedule the fight with Clayton Rodriguez. He pulled out 6 days before, and I just, he didn't give it any excuse, didn't say anything. Mick Maynard just said he was injured, he was out, and I messaged Dana White. I said, it doesn't matter who you put in there. I'm showing up on Friday, and I'll be on weight. And so that's how it turned out. But yeah, I never mentioned Ode's name. I think he's a great fighter, but I really don't care to fight him. I'll fight anyone. I haven't turned down any UFC fights. You can look at my resume. I fought some tough competitors. And I think Clayton, we need to reschedule this fight with Clayton and, write the pull out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing I've noticed too is a lot of Vegas fights. Other than the trip to London, Vegas has kind of been your jam. I mean, granted, after the pandemic, it seemed like the majority of the shows were going to be in Vegas. But what I'm shifting to is, do you think it's time now to get on a pay-per-view? And would you like to fight outside of Vegas, or do you prefer the intimacy of the Apex?
No, I definitely want to fight in front of the fans, but I'm a company man. I kind of do what I'm told and do what I'm asked of, and that's what I've done my whole career. And if they want me to fight at the Apex, I'll fight there. If they want me to fight in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena, let's go. I've already proved I'll go and get my COVID vaccination and my passport, and I'll go across the world and fight the number one ranked pound for pound amateur in the world. So just, whatever the company wants, I'll do.
You're the perfect guy for me to ask this to, because I've often told the fighters, try and forge your own path. Don't always leave it in the hands of the UFC. I respect your stance. However, let's take a look at a guy like Alex Volkanovski. He just said, you know what? Sounds like Dariush is next. He might be the sub. But tell you what, me and my whole team, we're going to fly down there. And it seemed like he took control of that situation. Now he might be next for Makhachev, who's the new champion, in Perth, so his home country, all because he kind of took control. Now, granted, he's a champion. He's on a roll. You still haven't reached that level, right? So maybe not an apples to apples comparison. But do you watch when fighters do that and have an appreciation for maybe maybe I do need to be more vocal or tell them what I want?
Absolutely. Dana White always talks about taking advantage of the opportunity. And I think what Volkanovski did right there is that he created his own opportunity. He knew what he wanted, and he went and took it.
So, Cody, the situation that you were in, having to take a fight on short notice like that, there are certain things that happen throughout everybody's career. I think this is one of them that eventually catches somebody. But kind of on that bucket list of things you have to go through as a professional fighter at a high level, what was that experience like for you, as far as any changes you had to do, as far as strategy, what it did to you mentally, physically, getting that news? What was it like to kind of cross that one off the list?
There was a bunch of uncertainty, when things like that happen. And I envisioned Clayton Rodriguez at every practice. Every time I was running my miles, I was with other training partners, and I was putting his face on their head. And I did not want to lose in a run. I didn't want to lose at practice. And for it to be switched up, it kind of threw me a loop. But I talked to my coach, and we just discussed that, dude. You're a fighter, and who are you, and what are you about? And I was prepared. I was healthy. And granted, Carlos is a much tougher opponent than Clayton, in my opinion. He's a BJJ black belt. He's got knockout power in his hands, very crisp boxing, and
Cody, you there? I think we lost you the last
yeah.
part of your answer there.
Yeah, and he's granted, I thought he was a much tougher opponent than Clayton Rodriguez, and he's a BJJ black belt. He has very crisp boxing, and my coach just asked me, who am I and what am I about, and it didn't matter. I was prepared, I was healthy, and I was ready to go.
So that mentality that you have, some fighters, when we ask them, what do you see in the future? They tell us, I'm focused on right now. But, you've been talking about you'll basically take any fight. You don't really care. So that mentality, when you look at the champ right now, okay, do you feel like you're ready for him right now? Or do you feel like it's going to take a couple fights? You're still learning things? Where do you feel as far as the title picture and all that?
Well, I've trained with the best guys in the world, and I've saw the progress and I've saw the growth in my fight game, not just physically, but mentally. And I'd say I'm ready to give him a run for his money right now. It could be next week. Yeah, I'm down.
So if we talk again next year, this same time, what do you think we'd be talking about? What do you think would be the main topic? How do you see the next 12 months going?
Cody, how did you picture your being in the title contention? That's what we're going to talk about. I wrote my goals down today, actually, for 2023, And I want a top 15 opponent. I want to beat a top 15 opponent, and I want to be within title contentions by the end of 2023.
What date on the calendar would you be ready to fight right now, where you could say that's an honest camp? I'll be at my best. Factor in the holidays or don't factor them in, whatever you want. But like, January 30, February 28th is when do you think you'd be prime Cody for a fight versus the top 15 guy?
Well, since my fight, I had some injuries, not injuries, but I was hurt a little bit, and I haven't been able to make it back to the gym yet. But I plan on making it back next week, so I'm taking 2 weeks off. I'm going to get back in the gym, but Cody Durden's going to be at his best February. That's the date I want, and hopefully I get that rescheduled with Clayton.
Okay. That's Perth, Australia. That's that pay-per-view.
Perfect.
I want to see you on a pay-per-view. And the next one after that is either going to be in England or in Las Vegas, March, April, So It'd be really nice to talk to you in 1 year and have that fight. But another one I was looking at for you too is either the winner of Nicolau and Schnell or the winner of Albalzi and Royval. I think those would be some good fights too. Sometime around International Fight Week here in Las Vegas.
Right. Hey, that's perfect. My goal is, to overall just succeed. I want to start my own business one day. I want to be able to provide for my kids. My kids and my wife, they mean the world to me, and that's who I fight for. And the belt's great and all, but at the end of the day, it's about providing for your family and the ones that mean most to you.
What kind of business do you want to start?
I want to start my own gym one day.
Would it be combat sports like an MMA gym or like a fitness gym or both?
Absolutely.
So both fitness and MMA?
No, combat sports gym. Not really the weightlifting stuff. I don't have much experience in that, but yeah, I want to be able to share my knowledge one day and everything that I've went through and everything that I've done throughout my career and be able to help the young guys coming up.
Almost like a Sunsao, the way he kind of had some wisdom to share with you a few years ago. You want to return the favor a little bit.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
What did you think of his fight? He fought in the last month or so, and he got a win, and it was pretty cool. Like everyone was cheering for the guy. You know what I mean? Because he knows he's been pretty open about the fact that he could be hanging him up soon. But he got out there and he got a dub.
Dude, it was awesome. He sacrificed and left his family for 2 months, and he came back about probably 3 weeks before his fight. He came back for a week and hit me up. He was like, "Hey, Cody, let's spar tomorrow, small gloves." And I was like, "All right." And I met him at the gym, and dude, we had a hard sparring session. I mean, tempers flared, and it was good though. Afterwards we just looked at each other and smiled, and I knew right then when he started mixing in the takedowns and his cardio was on point, that the old Hafi was back. And I knew that guy, Victor Henry, was in for a real fight. And what did he do? He came out and he used his wrestling and his striking. He mixed it up perfectly. And that guy was surprised by that because his previous fights, he wasn't really wrestling. And we had a long discussion about that. And, man, I was just so happy,
Mm-hmm. And that was 10 years ago that he first talked to you. You said when you were 21, right? Or something like that?
Right. But we still trained together. Since then I started, when I turned pro in 2016, I reached out to Hafi again. I was like, "Yo, let's get some rounds in." And, man, he opened the door for me. I used to drive an hour and 30 minutes to Alpharetta to go train with him. So yeah, we've kind of connected since 2016 and got so many training sessions in. He's just like such a good guy. You know what I mean?
You as a lighter weight class guy, and us tying in Hoffa to this conversation, were you ever a fan of the WEC? Do you remember that?
Jose, I do.
Cub and Dominic and Asuncao and Poirier was there. Man, that was a great promotion.
Yeah, so Brian Bowles, his head coach his name's Chad Schaefer, and Chad Schaefer used to coach Brian Bowles, Forrest Griffin, and a bunch of the amateur champions around Georgia. And about 2 years ago, I reached out to him, or actually a year ago, a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago, I reached out to him, and I was trying to get him back in to coaching me. And, you know, he took my offer, and, you know, he's one of my head coaches now. He goes to every fight with me, and we just train in his garage a lot of the times. But, you know, he brings the fight IQ and his knowledge is very beneficial to me.
Very cool. Just a couple more here. How did you get the pit row passes for that day at the Speedway? That must have been quite an experience.
Yeah, it was. So they had a huge car show going on, a tattoo convention, and pro wrestling. You know, I met Buff Bagwell. He came up to me and told me he was a huge fan and congrats on the win. And a bunch of old school wrestlers, Chase Stevens, Kevin Nash, and it was a fun experience. Got to sign a bunch of autographs for some fans, and I enjoyed myself.
You think you could ever get a car like that, 200 miles an hour, even just you by yourself with a pro next to you?
Well, Rafael Asuncio races cars,
That's
and
right.
I've been trying to get him to take me, but he hasn't taken me yet. So I want to get in the car, and even if I'm a passenger, I want to feel the thrill because I know it's one.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, hey, great getting to talk to you here about all these different topics, bringing up the past, the WEC days. As you were talking, I was looking for my WEC glove that we have. Maybe Goes has it. I don't know, but man, you know, the blue canvas, they were based here in Vegas, so we would go to the fights a lot, and we got a lot of great memories from there. Carlos Condit, I remember Carlos Condit used to scare Goes because, didn't you say, Goes, that's like the last guy you wanted to meet in an alley because he was always foaming at the mouth on fight week, like he just wanted to mess people up.
He has the most intimidating stare down, but when you talk to him outside, he's like one of the nicest people ever.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, back to you. The focus is on you. We hope those injuries are minor.
They are.
You can get back going so that maybe a 3-fight 2023 awaits you with some big fights, top 15. Get on a pay-per-view. We live in Las Vegas. Of course, we don't mind seeing you here, but if we're going to see you, want to see you at the T-Mobile. Let's get out of that Apex. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
and get some big fights in front of you. So thank you so much for the time, man, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.